Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, walhamdulillah wa rabbil alameen. By the grace of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we are here again. And inshallah, we will be continuing the fascinating subject of the return of Isa al-Masih alayhi salam. In part 1 and 2 of this series, we looked at the prophecy of Isa al-Masih about the events that will precede his blessed return. In response to the question of his disciples as to the signs of his return and the end of the world, Isa alayhi salam shared tremendous truths and insights with his disciples and consequently us in these last few programs. We have been exploring the Injil in the Gospel of Matthew chapter 24 and Luke chapter 21. We have seen how Esau's prophecies have taken place during the past 2,000 years vividly and beyond a shadow of a doubt. First, the destruction of Solomon's temple in Jerusalem in 70 AD. World wars, earthquakes, pandemics, famines. Then Esau talked about persecution that would await his followers. And we saw how these persecutions were unleashed first by the very countrymen of Esau, the Jewish nation, and then 3 centuries of horrific, systematic slaughter of true followers of Esau perpetrated by the Roman Empire. Then during the Dark Ages, unimaginable persecution and murder of millions of true worshippers of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, true believers in Isa, by the hand of churches of papal Rome. And we saw how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in his mercy and providence inspired the Muslim Ottomans to come to the aid of the Protestant reformers who rose against the tyranny of papal Rome. These reformers, led by Martin Luther, who was called the Mufti of Wittenberg by the Muslim Ottomans, were being hunted down and slaughtered by the Church of Rome. Muslims embraced these reformers and gave them refuge, since they saw that these reformers were indeed the true Ahl al-Kitab, people of the book. And the fear of Allah did not allow these Muslims to cause them any harm, irrespective of the insistence of the pontiffs of Rome. With the passage of time, much of this history has been forgotten, and yes, even by Muslim leaders of today. Since I mentioned in our last segment, in our last program, that they are reaching out to Rome and are signing pledges and agreements with the Church of Rome. They are collaborating in building mosques and churches and synagogues by the initiation of the Pope. In Abu Dhabi, billions of dollars are spent building magnificent Jewish, Catholic, and Muslim houses of worship side by side. Why? You might not be aware of this, my friends, but you can examine it for yourself. Why are Muslim leaders so anxious and willing to be in league with the Roman Church? Well, a common motto: fight against extremism, fundamentalism. In the aftermath of the most recent atrocities perpetrated by radical ISIS and other groups, which inflicted most of their harm on other Muslims, Muslim leaders heeded the call of the Pope to create a unified and cooperative effort to prevent such horrors from ever happening again. At face value, this seems very noble, very humanitarian and benevolent. But when you begin to look a little deeper, you realize that it is more about bringing the world community under one umbrella, the umbrella of Rome. Let me share with you the definition of fundamentalism as far as the Vatican is concerned. According to the understanding of the Roman Church, fundamentalism is defined by the belief in the literal, audible, and physical return of Isa al-Masih alayhi salam. According to the Church of Rome, those who hold to the literal return of Isa alayhi salam are considered fundamentalists. That includes me, you, and millions of other Christians and Muslims who, according to the scriptures of Allah, believe in the physical, literal, audible return of Isa al-Masih alayhi salam. You see what slippery slope this could be for Muslim leaders? On the surface, it seems as one of the highest human aspirations to bring about peace and stability. But at what cost? At the cost of compromising the words of Allah? You see, the Church of Rome does not believe in the physical, literal return of Isa. It believes that it itself is the embodiment of the kingdom of Allah, Emporium Millennium, and that there is no need for Isa to come back. Isa alayhi salam said, "And if I go and prepare a place for you, I will come again and receive you to myself, that where I am, there you may be also." The popes of the Roman Church are known to refer to themselves as the successors or vicars of Christ on this earth. Are our Muslim leaders aware of this? Are they aware that the Pope claims to be God on earth and that he has the power to forgive or not to forgive sins, and that his authority supersedes that of the Word of Allah, the Kitab, Tawrat, Zabur, and the Injil, which the Quran came to confirm and to protect? Are our Muslim leaders aware of this? If they are, how can they turn a blind eye and a deaf ear and still lend a cooperative hand to the Pontiff of Rome? And if they are not aware, they should not be in the position of authority, because they should know that the Quran and the precepts of that, it forbids communion with those who disregard the word of Allah. Allah has forbidden the worship of idols, yet the Church of Rome is replete with idols and idol worship. Just that by itself should cause you to think, what in the world is happening? Is the arm of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala short, that the leaders of Muslimun are reaching out to the mushrikun? Shaitan is adamantly at work to distract people and prevent humanity from the knowledge of the return of Isa al-Masih alayhi salam. Why? Because the return of Isa would bring an end to the reign and the tyranny of Shaitan and all those who have bowed the knee to him. The noble Quran declares, Isa alayhi salam is the sign of the hour of the end of the world, the hour of judgment, and the establishment of the eternal kingdom of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Isa's return would bring to an end all human suffering, pain, sorrow, that would end of human history as we know it. That is why Isa will return. Isa alayhi salam's return is not going to be just another event in a series of events, but it would be universal, all-encompassing, culminating, cosmic event who can escape it? Those who have been willing and waiting for his return and lived according to it, and those who denied and rejected and went about their daily lives will see his return. The Holy Injil declares, he comes with clouds and every eye will see him. Did you notice? Every eye. How can an event like this be ignored and sidestepped? How can an event like this not be trumpeted around the world? The Injil, according to 1 Thessalonians, chapter 4, ayah 16 to 18. For Esau himself shall descend from heaven with a shout, with the voice of the archangel, and with the trumpet of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and the dead in Esau shall rise first. Then we, which are alive and remain, shall be caught up together with them in the clouds, to meet Esau in the air, and so shall we ever be with Esau. Wherefore, comfort one another with these words. Esau alayhi salam, who was born of the Virgin Mary, by the Spirit of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who healed the sick, fed the hungry, and raised the dead, came to this world to save us humans from slavery to Shaitan. His name in Hebrew means God saves, Yahushua. Isa al-Masih came to save us humans from sin, which is slavery to Shaitan. Slavery to Shaitan leads to death, eternal death. Esau's work of salvation will come to its culmination with his blessed return. Now you see why this is so critical. The Holy Injil declares that Isa alayhi salam will judge the entire world. Allah has declared in the Quran, O Isa, I will look with higher esteem to those who followed you than those who rejected you. When is this going to take place? At the judgment of Allah. The judgment of Allah will not happen unless Isa alayhi salam returns, physically and literally. Now you see why it is so crucial for our Muslim and Christian leaders to be vigilant. Just because it looks good, seems good, doesn't necessarily mean it's good. Unity with the Pope might seem to be humanitarian, benevolent, but at what cost? Compromising the decrees and allegiance to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Astaghfirullah. We can always endeavor for the betterment of the world and the lives of others around us, the poor, the sick, the environment, world peace. But why do we have to do it in cooperation and collaboration with a power and institution that has a very violent and cruel history? Am I being unkind? I'm simply asking, how can Muslim leaders embrace a power that does not consider the word of Allah, the Kitab, as the complete revelation of Allah and the final word of Allah? In Surah Al-An'am, ayah 154, we read, Then we brought Moses the book, complete for him who does good, an explanation of everything, and guidance and mercy so that they might believe in a meeting with their Lord. I had a conversation with a Catholic priest in the city of Phoenix who adamantly said, you, my friend, are too dependent on this book. The word of the Catholic Church is above this book. My brothers and sisters, this is not about who is good and who is bad, who is right and who is wrong. This is about the truth, The truth is not subjective or relative. It is final when Allah speaks it. In the writings of one of the most preeminent prophets of Israel, Nabi Isaiah Yeshayahu, God says, I am God and there is none like me. Only I can tell you the future before it even happens. Everything I plan will come to pass, for I do whatever I wish. How can anyone's word be above this? We invite you to visit our website, www.asureharvest.com, where you will find a wealth of uplifting resources. Click on Study, scroll to the Biblical and Quranic studies, then choose from a variety of topics like Tawrat, Zabur, and Injil, and find out why should mu'mineen study these immense scriptures of Allah. Or you might want to know who the people of the book Ahl al-Kitab are, mentioned numerous times in the Quran. There is something for everyone, like music that honors Allah and His Majesty. And there is much, much more at www.asureharvest.com. The Injil according to Matthew, chapter 24, ayah 30 and 31. And then shall appear the sign of Esau in heaven, and then shall all the tribes of the earth mourn, and they shall see Esau coming in the clouds of heaven with power and great glory. And he shall send his angels with great sound of a trumpet, and they shall gather together his elect from the four winds, from one end of heaven to the other. In the Noble Quran, Surah Al-Qiyamah, ayah 16 to 19, we read, O Prophet, do not rush your tongue, trying to memorize a revelation of the Quran. It is certainly upon us to make you memorize and recite it. So once we have recited a revelation through Jibreel, follow its recitation closely. Then rests upon us the explanation thereof. My dear Muslim brother and sister, you need to adhere to what the Quran and the previous book declare, not to what is popular or what our leaders are doing. If it contradicts the word of Allah, stay away from it. Wassalam. We cannot say we did not know. In the Injil, in the Gospel of Matthew, Isa alayhi salam said, and this gospel of the kingdom will be preached unto all the world as a testimony. And then the end will come, and I will return. The end will come. Esau will return, as sure as those boulders of the destroyed temple of Jerusalem are still laying on the ground, exactly as Isa alayhi salam prophesied. Esau will return, but his return is the subject of Shaitan's most vicious and demonic attacks to distort, to twist, and if possible to erase from people's awareness. But Shaitan has not and will not succeed in his attempt. You are now hearing this truth. For the last 2,000 years, regardless of all the horror that the followers of Isa alayhi salam have endured, the news of his return has always been the apex of their message. During the horrendous persecution of the first 3 centuries, after Isa's return to heaven, followers of Isa alayhi salam would greet each other Maran Atha, which in Aramaic means the Lord is coming. Those who believe in the physical and literal return of Isa alayhi salam are compelled to share that news with the world. The return of Isa alayhi salam is the completion of Allah's plan of salvation. The Injil, which means good news, just imagine no more pain, no more sorrow, no more crying, no more wars, no more bombs, no more death. Inshallah, in our next segment, in our next program of this series, The Signs of Isa's Return, we will focus on 2 very fascinating issues that Isa alayhi salam emphasized. He said the days of his return would be like the days of Noah and the days of Lot. Nabi Nuh and Nabi Lut alayhi salam, 2 prophets very familiar to the Quran. Why did Isa point to these 2 prophets? Just as all the events that Isa prophesied, are we also experiencing what took place during the times of Nabi Nuh and Nabi Lut alayhi salam? Inshallah, we will delve into this subject in our next program. Until then, remember, Sayyidina Isa al-Masih alayhi salam said, "You shall know the truth, and the truth shall set you free." Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. We hope this program has been a blessing to you. If you have any questions, any comment, drop us a line at info@assureharvest.com or visit us online at www.assureharvest.com. Until next time, Barakallah Feek.